right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The conversation begins right now. It's the state of the nation. We talk about matters, politics, and everything in between there. We'd like to hear from you. Both sides now have been constituted. Round 2 of talks are flying into headwinds already, as the MU team have their people, and the Kenya Kwanza also have mentioned their people. They have their agenda, which they seem not to agree on. We'd like to hear from you on the thoughts of the agenda that are being tabled. Those agenda capture what you want them to talk about as the people. Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Daybreak. Let me introduce my guest, starting from my farthest right, Honorable Gabriel Oletongoyo, Narok West Member of Parliament. Thank you so much for making time. Followed by Owen Baya, Kilifi North Member of Parliament. Asante sana for making time. Okay. Honorable Jack Wamboka Bumula, Member of Parliament. Thank you very much for making time. And Honorable Anthony Kibagendi, Kitutu Chache South Member of Parliament. Thank you very much for making time. Honorable Baya, I'll start with you because you're the first one here anyway when you walked in the morning.
Yes.
You've seen both sides. Are those issues representative of what Kenyans really want to talk about at this particular point?
Thank you very much, Trevor. I think the issues that Kenyans are grappling with today are issues of the cost of living, and which actually, if you listen to the president yesterday when he was addressing the issue of sugar, he hinted at it. And that's an issue that Kenyans are grappling with. But it is not an issue that we need to seek the advice of Azimio or their people on, or to have discussion about it. Because as a government and as Kenya Kwanza government, we have a plan on how to bring the cost of living down. And we do not need to sit down and have negotiations on how to bring the cost of living down. We are well aware of what to do, and we are doing that gradually. The president knows that the cost of sugar has gone up, and has deliberately said now that we do not want to cause a shortage, we are going to use our quota in the COMESA quota to import sugar. And he says in the past it has been used, 1, to kill our factories, and 2, it has also been used to perpetuate corruption. So he is careful about how to bring the sugar into the country so that the price of, when there's good supply, the price will go down. So he is aware about that. On the issue of unga, we can see the prices of unga are going down because Kenya Kwanza has a plan on how to do it. We have put the subsidy on fertilizer, the seeds, and the rains have been favorable, and therefore this country is going to have a bumper harvest. On the issues of petrol, which we do not need to sit with any fuel, we do not need to sit with Azimio to discuss that. The government-to-government tendering process on fuel will come to fruition very soon, and the price of fuel will go down. When
is very soon? Because we see an upward spiral of pricing of.
Now, when I was passing by the next petrol station to fuel my car, I saw that they had said they're giving a 5 shillings discount.
But those are specific petrol stations. Petrol standard price all over the country.
But yes, but of course you can see as the global prices of fuel are coming down, the prices in Kenya here in terms of fuel will also come down. These are not issues that we need to sit down with Azimio to discuss. As a government, we have the personnel, we have the brains, we have the plan, and we have the ability and the willingness to implement it. And the cost of living in this country will come down. And this is not something that we need to sit. We cannot sit down with Azimio to discuss the cost of living. Because they were part of it. They were part of the problem at the initial stages, and therefore they need to give us as a government. And if they think that we are not doing well on these issues, why don't they wait for 2027?
Okay. Kibagendi, they say that you don't need to sit down and discuss the cost of living. It's an agenda on your side of the divide. They say you shouldn't be part of it.
An inept government will want to recreate the systems that didn't work before, like they're actually doing. Sometimes it is important to listen to dissenting voices so that you can pick a few ideas from here and there that will help you transform the way you'll actually work. When leaders begin from this point of view, like our able leader, we call him in Parliament, that they don't need to discuss anything with Azimio concerning the cost of living. It is a demonstration that they are not sincere in the talks that we want to have as Kenyans. And we need to realize we are going beyond the political associations that we belong to. it is about Kenya at this point. While, yes, we have identified the discussants from both sides, but it is about the larger country. It is about Kenya. And I think when you started from where our leader here has started, it is a demonstration of fear of a government that is insincere. Because, you know, this government won by an extremely small margin. And so they feel like they are not a legitimate government.
You agree that now they won?
Yeah.
Because that has always been a point of...
yeah, you know, they're in government. Okay. 200,000 votes is such a very small margin. And then they have gone on to break literally every promise they gave their supporters and Kenyans in general. What does that mean? They know they have lost literally more than half of the support that they had. And that is why they are these hardlines. They don't care about what is going on in the country in terms of the cost of living. They just keep giving us lip service. Yeah. They keep giving us excuses about the former regime. It is because Uhuru did this. It is because there was a handshake. It is because as in, it is excuses after excuses. Mm. So what we are saying, we also had ideas on how to transform this country. They look like they are clueless. And hence, we intend to probably give them ideas on how we can do this. And you need to know, the president, I have tremendous respect for the president. He gave me an opportunity to work with him. And during that time, he was so focused. We put together ideas, and I knew when he got the opportunity to serve, yeah. I knew he was going to transform this country, and I thought the team he was putting together yeah. would help him change this country. But again, I've realized this company of theirs, you cannot have an A-level company yeah. with C-level performers. And he confirmed that in his speech the other day when he said a bunch of his appointees, the CSs and PSs, and some of his advisors do not even understand what is going on in their ministry, in their ministries. Okay.
Yeah. Jack, they say that they're already addressing the cost of living. One of them is the importation of sugar, and like Owen Bai is talking about the subsidized fertilizer. Why do you need to be part of it? Why don't you give them time to address the cost of living?
Mbija, I want to agree with my brother here. He's a very good friend of mine. That the cost of living is the biggest issue in Kenya now. I also want him to understand that it's been 1 year they've been in government. So time for excuses, I think it's over. For it to be an issue, it means nothing is being done, or nothing is being done properly, for that matter, by this government to ensure that the cost of living comes down. Of importance to me, why are we here? We are where we are because partly of the creation of William Ruto administration. Ombija, you know very well that if you increase taxes, okay, without capacitating production, then the cost of living is going to go up. Very few people, in fact, are going to afford those taxes. So my brother must understand here that people are crying. It is real. When my brother says that fuel is coming down by 5 shillings, it's not true. It's spiraling upward. And it's going only to get worse because the Ruto bill, the act now is coming into effect. You know, they went round the court, and now the court okayed them to implement that. It is going to be worse, worse, and worse. And I pity for those hustlers, people who were hoodwinked to see a messiah in this government, Ombija. But be that as it may, where we've reached as a country, we need a bipartisan solution. Let people dialogue. Let people talk about these issues. You know, just like NAC government came in power with overwhelming majority, And a few months down the line, when things started going south, one time the then Vice President, Omalwa Kijana, paused and asked, if we were to go back to the electorate, would we ignite the same passion like we did? And my question to this morning to Kenya Kwanza government, if you were to go back to the same hustlers, would you ignite the same passion that you did? The answer is no. So we are in a hole that we need to come out. Already the president is saying the people he put in office are clueless, do not even understand. He has a more bigger view of government than they have. Yeah. So things are falling apart.
Okay.
We know that now, when they came in power, they said, we are not going to borrow, we are not going to borrow. We know that they have borrowed more than any other government within 1 year. We know we are in a hole. Okay. So let's go to the dialogue without necessarily giving conditions, because this Kenya belongs to all of us. We need that after the dialogue, whatever outcome that we're going to come out with, we need it to be owned by Kenyans.
Okay.
Be it Azimio, be it Kenya Kwanza. And by the way, this Kenya is divided at the middle into two. Perhaps now not into two. It is a quarter versus 75% of Kenya. Okay. And that is what, you know, when people are in power, Ombija, power gets to the head. Yeah. And at times you lose that voice of reason. Okay. It is the highest time, my brother, my partner in crime, that we stop chest thumping. Yeah. We stop the hard positions. Yeah. And we come back and we sit on the table, understand that high cost of living is real. Okay. Kenyans need a solution to this.
All right.
And when he talks about sugar, Ombija, that is a subject that is very dear to my heart. Because as I sit here, I'm a product of sugar. We went to school because of sugarcane. And as we speak now, where I come from, Nzoia, it was in the ward, now it is shifted to ICU. And nothing seems to be happening. Mumias was in ICU, now is headed to be buried. And nothing seems to be happening. 1 year down the line, the president was all the time in Western saying, mimi ni fundi wa viwanda. Nikiweka chini Biblia, nitakuja kuangalia maneno ya sukari. Now they're talking of importation. Okay. They are not talking of how are we going to ensure that we produce enough sugar
and revive the factory.
And revive these factories.
Okay. Let me bring
it's a fraudster.
Yeah, let me bring in Honorable Tongoyo on this. If you all agree that the cost of living is a conversation that should be had, why shouldn't it be a subject of discussion?
Thank you, Trevor. First of all, I want to really appreciate that our brothers, at the end of it, they have seen the light that Kenya Kwanza won fair and squarely. And when we are talking about the cost of living, I first want to disagree, and you allow me to do that, that the push from our brothers from the other side, the Asimio Brigade, and is not really, I'm not convinced that it is about the cost of living or it has got anything to do with the Kenyans. Yeah, I want to believe that it has got something to do with themselves. Maybe they want some position in the government. And my good brothers should appreciate that in any democratic government, there is always the government and the opposition. And each side should be able to take their position. The best our brothers should have done, to me, is one, to put checks on the government. They let the Kenya Kwanza government execute their mandate, carry their duty. We had a commitment with the Kenyans. We are just hardly about 9 months down the line.
It's 1 year.
Yeah, the president was sworn around November. Okay, 1 year or whichever, it's not long enough. They should actually move ahead and form the shadow government. Ambogo could be made the agriculture minister or the finance, whatever. And they give us time to execute on our mandate. We should appreciate that actually some of the commodities they're talking about, to include the unga, cooking oil, the prices were more higher before we came in.
Stop lying.
I mean, you can go to any retailers and all the, you know.
They disagree.
Let me finish.
I'll give you a chance.
I give you a time.
I'll give you a chance.
It's not true.
The majority of the item, the commodity they're talking, the prices were more higher.
Not true.
During the Handshake Brothers regime. My brother just mentioned that our approach, the Kenya Kwanza approach, we believe the best way to address, because we all know what really brought us here, the cost of living. One is not a conveying of Kenya alone. We know what is happening in the UK. They were in the streets because of the cost of living. It's a global problem. We all know that the war in Russia and Ukraine and the issue of the Black Sea grain deal could have actually contributed to the problem we are seeing as a country. But we had really done fairly well. The president has really done pretty well. One, he had said we want to really subsidize on production rather than consumption. The fertilizers were brought down from 7,500 to the current 2,500 from yesterday. And when we're talking about produce, of course, planting of maize, they don't mature in a month. Yeah? So our brothers should have been patient. They give the Kenya government time.
Yeah.
And they have space.
So with that perspective in mind,
so to me,
as
much as I appreciate, to me, I don't even, I'm sorry to say, they are really probably even uncalled for.
There's no
because I'm not convinced our brothers have got any interest on the welfare of Kenya.
And yet the only side that has talked about positions is your side. Your side has talked about establishing an entrenchment in the office of the leader of opposition and the embediment of the office of the prime cabinet secretary. That is coming from your side.
But let me put like this, but do we need really to have kind of boardroom meetings to do that? The President William Ruto, from the very onset, when he was addressing the National Assembly. Let me finish, my brother. He made it very clear.
Let's write it down, I'll give you a chance.
One, that we have been having the issue of the two-gender rule. It has been an issue that we have never managed really to get over it. He was very categorical on a formula that we can able to achieve it. Two, his intention to form the office of the opposition. We don't need to have the bipartisan or going to the street, putting souvenirs in our heads to have that one, established. Three, I think the issue of even CDF, those are issues that simply will be legislated on the floor of the House.
So there's no need for the dialogue in your view?
To me, as far as the issue, the matters, the problem, these guys are just taking the issue of cost of living as scapegoats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're saying you're being insincere. If you agree that there's a high cost of living, then why can't it be a discussion? Because it's a dialogue conversation. It's not an instruction session where they say this is what you do. Why don't you take some of the ideas and continue implementing whatever you're implementing and tell them this will have an impact at this particular point?
Trevor, I understand this. Kenya is a representative democracy. And whatever issues are out there with this country and the constitution of this country has provided a platform where all matters that concern citizens can be canvassed. Parliament, that is the Senate, and the National Assembly. And the issues that are being brought out, Azimio has a team in Parliament. And if you look at their team, you see, I was actually looking at their team. And Amina Miazi, my neighbor in Kilifi, Opio and I, they are members of Parliament. Why do they want to go and discuss issues that they can actually discuss inside Parliament? If you look at our team, we have looked at people who are within Parliament. We have not brought in anyone outside Parliament apart from Cecily, who is our party chair. We are saying we have a platform to discuss these issues, and these issues can only be canvassed in Parliament, and it's in Parliament. When we want to change law, we will change law in Parliament. When we want to make adjustment in regulations, we can make adjustment in regulations in Parliament. To go out there and say we would like to have a discussion, a dialogue about the future, about issues that can easily be canvassed in Parliament is actually trying to derail our agenda as Kenya Kwanza. And I want to be very clear. We do not need dialogue to fix the cost of living. We just need to have our economists do their work. If you look at the issues that they are raising, you look at the team that they have given, I would have thought that they would go and pick the best economists, you know, best economists, or people who have experience in treasury matters, in issues of cost of living, you know, and put in the team. But what kind of team have they given us in terms of trying to, you know, you cannot say you want to have a discussion on issues of medical practitioners and all that, and you bring geologists into the team. They've basically thrown politicians who are good at negotiating for power. You know, we know the history of Kalonzo Musyoka in Sudan. We know him in Somalia. It's a guy who will come in to want to negotiate power. We know what...
And yet they've kept saying that that is not an agenda.
No, you know...
In fact, it's not even on the...
You know, what we know,
yeah.
Azimio has never put their cards on the table, the real cards on the table. All their cards are hidden. They are looking... You see, the proverbial camel.
Yeah.
Yeah, who just wants to put in his head and eventually his hump and eventually the whole body. This is what they're trying to do. Okay, you guys come, let's discuss this. But eventually, you heard what Raila Odinga said when he was addressing the international journalists. And he said, we want inclusivity. And when he was pressed by, I think, a journalist there, he said, yes, we would like our members to be part of government. We would like them to benefit from government. Yeah. And that he said. Because, you see, somehow, you know, you cannot lie for a long time.
I'll give you a
After
chance
some time, the truth actually comes out. If you watch that interview that was held, Raila Odinga had with international journalists,
yeah.
It is very clear about what he wants and what he wants.
Okay.
And again, history, Waswahili husema mtu haachi lake. We have known who Raila Odinga has been since he started since 2007. Every time he talks about, after an election, he disputes the results. He has never accepted the result. He disputes the results. After he's disputed the results, we know the modus operandi. Okay. You know, call for maandamano. After that, you're called to a talk. And after that, you get something into government and you keep quiet.
Okay.
And that is the script that we know of Raila Odinga. And this is not a different case.
All right.
The only thing is now he's older than before. That is the only difference.
Does your side have any hidden cards?
Absolutely not.
Because what does inclusivity of national affairs mean?
You know, in Kenya Kwanza, unless you bring in the issue of Raila and wanting to be in government, you don't make sense to the supporters they want to excite. And, you know, at the beginning of the tenure of President William Ruto, he had an impeccable political goodwill. And it came out of the promises he gave Kenyans and the sympathy the Kenyans gave him because of what they felt he was going through. However, he's doing the exact opposite of what he promised. And that is why he has gone on to infect the people around him with what I can call some degree of arrogance and sincerity that you're seeing being portrayed in this particular studio from our friend leader here, Owen Baya. When he says that Raila wants to be in government, and clearly His Excellency Raila Odinga has continually stated that we are not interested in being in government. Our concerns are to do with the cost of living, constitution of the IEBC, issues to do with, you know, of course,
audit of 2022 elections, bipartisan constitution, inclusivity,
inclusivity.
In fact, that's where I wanted to say. What does that mean?
You know, the campaigns are over.
Okay.
And it is time now to weave this country together. And the continued insulting of leaders and the revenge on the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and the continued appointment of mainly people from two communities into government in a country where all of us pay taxes is what Raila is talking about. When he talks about inclusivity, it doesn't mean he needs to pick for you someone from Western to be in that government or from Luo Nyanza to be in that government. As we speak today, personally, I have a problem with inclusivity in the way teachers are being recruited in this country. They throw around figures to sub-counties, And then a bulk of the opportunities, if you add up the people that are sent to the 290-something sub-counties in terms of opportunities versus the amount we have allocated to government to actually recruit, you find that there is a figure that is hidden that goes on to be traded or shared amongst a few in government. Yeah? Even in the recruitment of KDF, in the recruitment of police, we know that is what they do. And that is what the president, that is what Raila Odinga, that is factual.
That is not
the appointments in these governments, that is, we have seen it. Statistics. Out of the parastatal heads that have been appointed, you can clearly tell it is 30 to 40% one community, 30 to 40% the other, and then the rest of Kenyans share about 30%. That is the truth.
Yes.
And the things that are being done that we cannot actually see, the things that are being done that we cannot actually see, and that is why Raila Odinga is talking about inclusivity. Inclusivity is not about Raila Odinga getting into government, or Opiyo Wandayi becoming CS for health, or Anthony Kibagendi becoming the CS for youth. No, inclusivity is about weaving this country together. When you throw in, like now my brother here is saying, sometimes someone puts in initially the head and then the shoulders, and then the next thing, it is the whole body that is in. It is because they feel like they have lost legitimacy. So they feel like these people will take over government. We are not interested. Continue doing the things you're doing. We thought by coming together and having the dialogue, it can help save this country in terms of the cost of living, creating cohesion amongst Kenyans, and dealing with certain issues that will help us move forward with confidence in terms of, like now, the IEBC. And that is what we are looking at.
We'll come to that in just a bit. But Jack, you wanted to respond.
One,
yes.
Trevor,
my brother is talking of cost of living being global. It is not true. It is basic science and knowledge that... It's basic knowledge that fuel in Uganda is lower.
Cheaper.
Rwanda. Our people are crossing from Kenya to go and shop in Tanzania. You saw the mighty woman, Honorable Suluhu, said that now she's happy. Investors are crossing over. So don't talk about your house is on fire. Don't use the neighbors to justify your predicament. That's one. Two, and you see, Trevor, another big scandal that is forming in this country is around the fertilizer. We saw the Russian president say that they've given 34 metric tons to Kenya for free. And now in Kenya, they're selling fertilizer. We at some point, we will have to go deep into these issues because everybody is now pitting the situation Kenya is in, and the real people in Kenya who call themselves government, like my brother Baya, cannot see. It is wrong, absolutely hypocritical, for a person of the caliber of Honorable Baya to talk about our membership to the dialogue. Honestly, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, Opiyo Wandayi, Amina Munyazi, Eugene Wamalwa, impeccable personalities.
Impeccable?
Personalities.
Unless the word impeccable has changed meaning.
Honestly, Ombija, respect is very important. You know, you may kill Raila for so many things. Even if Raila made a mistake today, it will never erode his service to this country. So let's just have respect. If I look at his list of people here, I just don't want to talk about it. Because it's okay, they represent the Kenya Kwanza spirit. Yeah, Kimani Ichung'wah is a Kenya Kwanza spirit. Okay, and we know what the spirit is. The other day he said, let's go and invade Uhuru Kenyatta's farm. And they did. So he represents the spirit of Kenya Kwanza. In fact, Ombija, in this dialogue, Azimio is facing a very high moral challenge. One, you are forced to go to dialogue with people whom our supporters believe they're not ready for dialogue. You've seen what the likes of the vice president, the deputy president has been saying. They don't believe in dialogue, but that they have just been forced by circumstances, what is going on, to come on the table. But now we are faced with a challenge as Azimio, because we must also live true. Look at the international community is also looking at us, saying, no, you cannot continue with this, but you must sit down. And if you left it to our supporters, for instance, many of them do not feel that we need to sit down with Kenya Kwanza, because they are not true. They don't believe in dialogue. Inclusivity. You talked about what the Prime Minister spoke about, inclusivity. Inclusivity means you are collecting tax from all of us by force, by fire. Ruto is collecting taxes, and now he's employed very many young men in KRA, of course from one region, to go and collect taxes, okay? You collect taxes from every Kenyan, but when you now start sharing this cake, you will call me on this platform one day, Umbija, we break down the budget, where the budget is going. One county called Elgeyo Marakwet counters all counties in Western, 5, in terms of the money allocated for development. That's what Raila Odinga is saying, inclusivity. If a Luhya is paying tax, a Kamba is paying tax, and I pity my brother from Narok, because we are in the same boat. In this government, we have nothing to talk about. Okay? This government is of shares. And the shareholders belong to two regions. Okay? It belongs to Central Kenya and it belongs to Rift Valley. That is what we are saying. And we must, Ombija, if we must move this country ahead, we must speak. Let me just speak. If we must build this country, then we must start being truthful about some of these things. Okay. So when Raila Odinga talks of inclusivity, this is what he's talking about. You get a Ministry of Energy, Ombija. And I want to challenge my brother. I want to challenge.
Allow you time to respond.
You know, truth burns. Yeah. If you go to Ministry of Energy, everyone, every CEO is from one community. One. Talk of geothermal, talk of Kenya Power, talk of EPRA, talk of Kenya Pipeline. Are you telling us other Kenyans don't exist? Other Kenyans don't qualify? So when we talk about inclusivity, Umbija, nobody wants to get to this government. Okay. If anything, we are waiting for time. All right. Okay? Okay. No, just a minute. We're running out of Lastly.
Yes. You're really becoming bad.
We want a government that respects itself. Okay. We've had serious pronouncements, and that's why Kenyans can no longer take this government serious. When a president, a person in the name of a head of state, pronounces himself on issues, we want him to be factual, because we want to trust the president. It's a symbol of unity, symbol of hope for all people. And very many times, the hustlers are dying, then you come and tell them, I've brought electric motorbikes, which actually don't work. When people are dying, they want schooling, you say, when you come to Nyayo Stadium, everybody who will come will get a scholarship to Arizona. And you see, Kenyans are just forgetting about these things. We must hold the president accountable in terms of what he says and what he does. Okay, I have to take a quick break. When I come back, I'll give you a chance, both of you, Owen and Honorable Tongoyo, to respond to the issues that have been raised by the two gentlemen here. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. See you in a bit.